Hey guys, it's Dave again. Welcome back again to Dave's Dimension. Welcome back again for another video. So we're back again this time with a little bit of an update. Finally, thanks to the delay with shipping over the past month and a half with USPS, there was a part I was waiting to finish my main pack, the Ben and Kent pack, the BOK build. So I finally got that piece in, and I'm going to show you guys what that is. Now, what I did was, since this, as I said before in my previous videos, with the Ben Kent pack, this was my first full-scale Proton pack. I've done previous builds, as you can see, the RGB and the Flux pack right behind me. And of course, in the distance on the other side, you can see my Spirit pack, my main Spirit pack that I usually wear for events, cons, and etc., etc. So, now I've done those, but I finally did the full scale, which is the Benekit. You can't see it because it's right behind me. I'm getting ready to work on it. So what I did was I decided, you heard me say this before, I decided to go all out. I went with a real clippered. I went with all the brass connectors. I went all out as much as I possibly could. Now, another thing was, well, I've done everything except put a V-hook on there, which, or those who are in a pinch, especially with the Spirit packs, you might have done a Dixie Cup V-hooks. Basically, what it is, it's just a hook that slides on to another piece so you can have your wands on there. So, what I did was, I actually went movie accurate. There's a seller on eBay who sells these nice machines parts. So, what I did was, I ordered from him. Now, the way this works, these are the base part actually are two pieces. You have a thinner piece that will go on the inside of the pack, and this thicker, heavier piece is going to go on the outside. And there's going to be a screw and a nut that basically clamps onto this. So this effectively works as a washer. That's one good piece of washer right there, guys. So what will happen is I'll apply the screws, and this is machined as well. This is the hook part, the V-hook, if you will. And this is machined so that it is already on an angle, so you don't have to worry about that, guys. So let me just throw a few of these pieces in so I can show you guys what I mean by that. Now, what he did was he actually went with some nice, thick, heavy-duty flathead screws, okay? Not Phillips, flathead. Those who might not be that versed in tools, you know the difference. You have a straight line opposed to a cross for your screwdriver, okay? So basically, you just slide the screw right through, right? It's not rocket science. Now, normally I would put this on the inside of my shell. There would be some space between this. Like, for example, obviously, your resin shell, or depending on how thick your shell is, you'll have a little bit of space here, guys, okay? So for this event, we're just going to hand tighten it. Bob's your uncle. Everyone has an uncle named Bob. So, the way this will look, you can see this is square, okay? So this is already on an angle. And this is the proper screen accurate looking V-hook that comes with it. And it works just like voila. It just slides right onto there. Okay? Slides right off. Now, he includes all the hardware here, including these screws that will go right onto your wands. Now, he obviously has these countersunk so that when you put the screw through, the head does not stick out in any shape or form. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be swapping out what I have on my wands. Now, due to the nature of my build, this is my carnivorous wand. I have not built the BOK wand just yet. Now this hangs a little bit lower. That's just because of some issues that happens during the build itself. Yes, I'm going to try and slide it back down with those, and we'll see how that works. Okay. Otherwise, my handle's going to stick up a little higher than it probably should on the pack. But we'll see what happens. Now, also, while I'm opening this, I actually came across some washers that I just had laying around in the workspace here. And I'm going to see if they fit the pack so that'll add a little bit more screen accuracy to it. I might try and rust these a little bit. Throw them in some water, leave them outside for a couple days, maybe a week, and then revisit them, see if they're rusted. I could do that, or I have my brown ember paint. I can do a little bit of dry brushing on it and give it a little rust, but over time it's going to have rust on its own. Also, one of our subscribers commented on my most recent video, or my most recent Ben and Kemp video, and did a little bit of request. So I'm going to be doing a separate video. Excuse me, hiccups. Excuse me. Better. I'm going to be doing a separate video where I'm actually going to go over the electronics. Now, the electronics I set up are GB fans, light and sound. Pretty much plug and play. But I'm going to go over again. I went over it very, very quickly, very briefly on one of my previous videos, but we're going to go through it again and give you a little bit more detailed look as to how I did it and what I did with it. It may not be the way that you guys want to go, but that's the beauty of each of these builds. It's your equipment, your gear. You mod how you like. Now, the person who commented, I'm gonna mention them in the separate video I'm gonna do. But they wanted to see a little bit more of how I went about the electronics. So that's why I'm gonna do a separate video. It's actually a very, very simple setup. Now, this was my first build, so it was an experience learning everything. Now, if I do another full-scale pack in the future, obviously, I'm going to take different approaches because now I've kind of worked out the bugs in my head, so to speak. The first time you ride a bike or the first time you change a tire is not the greatest experience. But the next time, you're doing better. You're learning as you're going. That's one of the great things about this. So we'll be doing a separate video where I'm going to go over what I did, how I did it. Now, there are people who know much more than I do, who are more electrically inclined, I guess you could say. I am a novice when it comes to electrical work. That's why I pretty much go plug and play. Plus, with my GB fan setup, they have the pin settings so that you can set it for movie mode, where it's just like the movie. You just get your regular particle stream. You get a little flash. There is an option for a motor if your wand is big enough that you can mount a motor into it. Excuse me, guys. So you can get a rumble feel when it's firing. I don't have that because I really didn't have a whole lot of room in there, at least not that I saw. Another thing is there is video game mode where you can fire between the different settings, and you can see a comparison video of that compared to the Spangler one. That's one of the first videos, one of the major videos I did on the channel. So if you want a comparison, you want to see the color difference between the two, go ahead and check that video out. I'll leave a link in the description below. Also, I'm going to leave links in the when I do the other video, the electrical video. I'll leave links for each of the parts that I used for the electronics, including my power cell, the actual toggle switch I used. Now, as far as the charging port on my pack, we'll go into that in the other video, but I'll mention that as well. But today is all about making this final upgrade because I attended an event this past week. But since I didn't have this on here, I could have put a Dixie V-hook on my pack, but I didn't want to make it look like Swiss cheese, put a bunch of holes in it. So I just wore my wands hanging from my belt. That's what I did. And personally, as a big guy who's been losing weight, it was not the most ideal situation because the those who've gone from spirit to full scale wands, especially resin wands, there's a little bit more weight to it. Okay, you go from something super light to something much heavier. I mean, even a Spengler wand is a fraction of the weight of a resin wand. So the resin has a little bit more weight, plus you have the aluminum, which is almost nothing. But the wand itself has weight, and it was tugging on my belt the entire time. Now, those who are familiar with this channel know I've been going through weight change. I'm losing weight. I'm much healthier, stronger, faster. My back is much better, better posture. Amazing. However, I'm having to readjust my utility belt, my waist belt, a hell of a lot more than I did before. It's almost to the point where I would have to put my loop for to hold my wands on. It's almost as if I'd have to put that on the pack belt, which obviously wouldn't look accurate, but at least then I'd have a little bit more weight support holding my wands up. Literally, I was pulling up my waist belts 4 or 5 times during that event, so that was a little bit interesting. You know, when you have to keep pulling up your belts, like, you know, you feel like your pants are falling down, but they're not because you're in a jumpsuit. But that was a bit comical, bit whimsical. So I'm glad I'm gonna finally have this on here. Now all this is just 2 drill holes. You don't have to do any kind of threaded holes because you're gonna have the bolts here. And like I said, the second piece right here. Let me turn that right there. That second piece basically works as a washer. One big solid piece washer. So I do 2 holes. And bada bing, bada boom, Bob's your uncle, and you have this on. And then I'm going to have to try and figure out with my carnivorous where I'm going to drill these through. Like I said, I want to make it more of a centered, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I was using that wand. The reason why the V-hooks are kind of misaligned is because I was rocking that on my spirit. And, of course, after I took it off the spirit, I kind of had to readjust things. Because I was actually on my spirit right now is my Spengler. I do have another Spengler. So I could unbox that one and throw it onto the Ben & Kent. But one of the reasons why I'm not doing that, guys, is this. One, yes, the wand is much lighter. I do love the look and the feel of the Spengler. Giggity. But here's the thing. Part of me going with the GB, one reason for going for the GB fans is I love the video game mode, where you get the boson collider, the slime blower. I mean, the stasis. You get everything in there. I love all those features. Now, if I'm switching between those modes, yes, I can still do that on Spengler. However, there's an animation on the Proton Pack with the GB fans light setup. The power cell, its animation doesn't just go straight up, straight up, straight up. It goes down. It has different patterns for each of those functions. So, I like that. 2, it also does a little difference on the cyclotron as well. So you get those different animations but it has to be synced in with whatever kind of electrical setup you have wired into the soundboard. And what I mean is, the light setup you have in the wands routes in to your soundboard, and your pin settings have to be matched up between the wand and the soundboard. Otherwise, it doesn't pass the signals on to the light kit inside the pack itself. It's like if you ever seen a video when it looks like their mouth is moving, but there's no sound coming out. That's kind of the effect that you would get. I can get the sound off my wands, but then I'll just have the hum and the regular power cell animation and power cell or the cyclotron animation on the pack, but it won't be in sync with the wand. So that's one of, I mean, it's a little kind of a petty gripe, okay? but that's just my personal feel. You know, it's your pack. You do what you want with it. So we'll be going over that, but we're finally going to get this in. So um, now, if you want, I can actually leave a link for the gentleman who sold me this on eBay. This wasn't a one-off. He makes these all the time, and I'll leave a link for his eBay page in the description below. So if you guys want to jump up and hop on this, I mean, this, it looks, yeah, there are some scratches, but you're gonna get scratches. This is like, this is aluminum. It's, I imagine he CNC this, or I mean, either that or I mean with the V-hook here, I mean he's got the perfect grooves there. It just turns out perfect. I mean, I had ordered this in the beginning of December, like around December 5th, December 8th, and I finally got this past weekend after New Year's. That's at no fault to him. He shipped it out right away. It was with everything else with Christmas time and everything going on with 2020. Shipping, no matter whether you're going USPS, UPS, FedEx, you know, DHL, whatever you're using, everything was delayed, and it was just a bad time for shipping. So he was tremendous. He was communicating to me all the time. Every time I messaged to him, he responded. He wasn't like with some people, when you're pestering them about things, they can get a little annoyed. He was fantastic. He was as helpful as Ben and Kent has been through this entire process. So kudos to him. Much love for him, and definitely I'm thinking of getting a few more of these to do on the other packs. So I'm definitely going to be a repeat customer of his, and I'm looking forward to it. I really can't wait. So that's all for right now. We're going to come back, and you'll come back when you see me in the next part of the video. We're going to do the actual putting it on the pack. But I got to open up the pack first. Yeah. You definitely want to make sure while you're doing this, one, you have a nice open area to work with. Two, now with how I have my electronics, some of the electronics are fed into the uh, pack itself, meaning the cyclotron, or not the cyclotron, but the vent light. So I'm going to have to, I have a long enough cord that I can detach that. So we're going to go ahead and do that very quickly, so I have enough space, because you want to make sure you have plenty of room when you're working, because if you have some of your electronics, you know, hot glued, epoxied, whatever, inside the pack itself, you want to make sure you can remove your back so you have plenty of room to work inside. Okay, I went with extra long wires so that I can do that. So I can have my pack here, and I can have the back opened maybe on another table. I have enough room to move around. That's one thing I did when I did my electronics, as in the power cable for the on-off switch, because I have, yes, I can turn on my pack with the wands, but I also rigged up a power switch on the back of the pack, so I don't have to turn or flip my switches and try and put my wand back on. I can just hit the bottom of my pack, bam, it's a nice simple on-off toggle switch, which I actually got. You can get them at Walmart, any hardware store, even on Amazon. I'm gonna pull up one of my links from when I purchased it, and I'll throw that in the description below. The charging port, as I said, I'm gonna mention more into detail, but it's basically the power cord from the Talent Cell battery that I have inside the pack, and I just kind of like did some hot glue on it, and bam, it's right there, and it's holding nice and tightly. But what I did was I ran extra long, I mean literally arm length wires out, so that I can open it up. Because usually when you have your wires, like with my Spirit, I put everything inside the Spirit shell itself. But what happens is you want to have wires that are long enough so that, well, if I'm opening it up, it only reaches so far. I want it to reach further, so you don't have too much tension, you don't have too much stress on your wires. So until the next part, I'll be right back, guys. Just going to be a few seconds for you, and who knows how long for me. Okay, so here we are. I have it mounted. And the other part of the V-hook is now mounted on here. Now, I got to use a fun little tool that I have here. This little attachment will go onto a drill, and then you can put any bit you want in here. So you can get into those hard to reach spots. I actually used this with my Dremel, and I was able to smooth out the inside of the pack when I showed you guys earlier. And this is not going anywhere. Neither is this. So like I showed you guys, there we go. She is now mounted. I cleaned up some of the lens here, and I got the cyclotron, or rather the power cell, to it's coming out much smoother. We really don't see as much. It's not perfect, but another time, another day, I will do some more sanding on the inside with the Dremel, and then we will have it completed. But right now the pack sheet is fully functional, wand is mounted, and we are ready to roll. Now it's already getting some scuffing, some weathering. You can see some spots here. You can really see some around the booster. Now I'm debating whether I want to throw a clear coat over everything. I could do that, or I could just let it continuously get scratched and banged up, much like my wand. As you guys can see, I've had the wand for about 8 or 10 months now, and you can see it's developed a lot of scuffs. This is not manual weathering, this is just natural scratches and scuffs, but as you can see, the silver aluminum is coming through already. So there we are. She is ready to rock.